It really feels like I've been doing a lot of spring cleaning on my shelves. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today I've got another unhaul. That's right, book haul, unhaul, book haul, unhaul. Just because I'm trying to get everything the way I want it on the shelves. But before we get into all of the stuff that I'm unhauling, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow. And you can check the description box down below for information about my Patreon if you want to help support what I do here on YouTube. Anyway, guys. So, like I said, it has been spring cleaning, and I have been kind of hauling a lot of books to fill in a lot of kind of gaps in my collection, because like I've got a lot of incomplete series and stuff like that. I've been cleaning out my Amazon wish list as well of stuff like, do I really need that on physical? And so it's just been kind of nice, kind of taking a hard look at my shelves and making some really tough decisions, because some of these are incredibly tough decisions, but I think they're ones that need to be made. So, let's jump right on in with the one that's actually right in front of me. I bought this a year ago. I know I was in the other house, and it was probably early 2022. And I still haven't taken this trilogy out of the plastic, which is silly. It's silly. It's been on my shelf for that long, and I haven't taken it out of the plastic. And that is going to be the Three Body Problem trilogy. Look at that. It's still plastic wrapped, and I've had this on the shelf for a year, and I haven't even bothered to take off the plastic. That should tell me something, that this is not a priority. I also know it's like a first contact story and stuff like that. First contact either works for me or it really doesn't, and yeah, this is one I don't think I'm going to get to. I'm certainly not going to get to it this year, and I doubt I'm going to get to it next year, and I'm out of space now. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on the Pango books, which all of these will appear on Pango, which is in the description box down below, along with links to the Listening to a Discord and all that information about my social media and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is the first trilogy that I am unhauling. As you can see, it's still shiny, because still in the plastic. And Cixin Liu, I believe, is the author. I think I've pronounced that correctly. Next up, I decided, like, I don't have room to collect all the hardcovers of this series, and I previously unhauled a paperback, but I hadn't sold it yet, so I unlisted the paperback on mass market paperback on Pango Books, and instead I'm going to list the hardcover of Simon R. Green's The Man with the Golden Torque. And I think I'm just going to collect that series on mass market paperback, because I've got this bottom shelf down here that I've got like about 2.5 empty shelves down here where I can fit mass market paperbacks, and mass market paperbacks only. And I think I'm going to fill that out with Simon R. Green. So instead of, I bought this to get rid of the mass market paperback, because like I did the short where like I folded it in half and I creased a page. But I think I'm just going to keep that copy, because I don't have room for hardcovers. Like, I mean, I literally did a whole shift of like, this used to be my tall paperbacks. You can see these are all now hardcovers, and the paperbacks are over here, because I had more shelves for paperbacks over there. And I had more hardcovers in this size, and this is still already almost full, so this may not even be my last unhaul. But like, I've even had to cancel my Goldsboro GSFF subscription, because I'm getting like a bunch of Kickstarter hardcovers, and I just don't have room. I may be doing a shelf upgrade here soon to the IKEA Billies over the next few months. That's very expensive. But I'm gonna start trying to save up for some bigger shelves, just in proportion, wider and taller. And Billy's also has this thing where like you can put an extra shelf on top of it. Oh, I'm here for it, and I want to get the one that's got like the corner shelf. Oh, that'd be so sick. Anyway, I digress. I've got another trilogy over here that I'm going to be getting rid of, and I read this trilogy. At least this is one that I've read. I've enjoyed it. I gave the whole trilogy overall like a 3 stars, because the first book, The Waking Fire, is my favorite, and this is Draconis Memoria by Anthony Ryan. We got The Waking Fire, The Legion of Flame, and Empire of Ashes. And this wasn't bad, but I don't see this as being anything I'm ever going to revisit. Now, I could see myself revisiting Bloodsong and The Raven's Shadow. I always say, yes, move the books. Of course, I look over here. They're not over here anymore. They're over here But I could see myself revisiting those books, and I've still got 2 Valen books in the follow-up duology that I still need to read. So I'm going to be letting go of those just because even though I enjoyed them, they didn't quite wow me. And I have some new series that I'm starting to collect, and I could use the room. Alright, and another cut-in. I'm getting really bad about doing these cut-ins here on my videos, but the unhaul has been going so well, I figured, why not unhaul a few more books? Because, you know, reasons. So this one is getting unhauled, not because I didn't love the book. I've already read this book. It was one of my books of the year, but a Kickstarter edition got announced, and it's gorgeous, and I'm going to be backing it. And so I don't need this edition anymore, mainly because I'm more excited for the Kickstarter edition, and that is M.L. Spencer's Dragon Mage. I will be letting this go. I love this book. This book is amazing, but if I'm going to back the Kickstarter, I need to make room for it. And the naked hardcover. Absolute stunner. I'll be adding this one to the Pango. So yeah, that's the first one that I'm adding in on this cut-in. We're going to kind of put that off to the side. Next up is Declaration of the Rights of Magicians by H.G. Perry. This is one that is signed Goldsboro, signed, numbered, things of that nature, but it's a UK hardcover and it's an odd size and doesn't match my Book 2 edition. And I'm neurotic and I need things to match. So I found a copy on Pango. I went and bought the copy on Pango, and now I have a matching set, and I don't have room for this one anymore. So this one has already been replaced. It's already been replaced. So yeah, I'm still excited to read this one. I've read about 25% of it, and then I went, ooh, squirrel, and kind of ran off somewhere else. But I now have a matching set, which makes me happier. Next up, this may get me in trouble, but we have got Dracula, this pop art kind of cover edition by Bram Stoker. And I picked this up on the recommendation of many a YouTuber who just lauded Dracula. It doesn't have a bit of dust on the text. It's so good. It holds up so well. No, I disagree. I didn't hate Dracula, but by the time I got around to reading Dracula in my 30s, it had infused so far into pop culture that whenever something would happen, I would just reference it from that pop culture reference or wherever my brain would go off somewhere. And then, like, I just couldn't immerse into the story. Nothing was surprising me. It felt very dated because Van Helsing is... he's everybody's best friend. He's lifelong friends as soon as you meet Van Helsing. That's kind of his shtick. He'll meet you, walk in the room, you shake his hand, share a cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, a biscuit, bam! Eternal gratitude, eternal friendship. That's Van Helsing. And that just didn't quite work for me here in Dracula. Gorgeous edition, though. And, yeah, what I really like about this one, and you can kind of see in the art, there's a bat back here. Very cool. Actually, is there a couple bats? I don't know. Maybe there's a couple bats you could see? I don't know. Maybe. But I'm adding that to the unhaul. And then this one hurts because it's rare. Now, it's not in the best of shape, but I did my best to kind of zhuzh it up, clean it up. The naked hardcover's got a little bit of wear and tear on it, but you saw the spine. And that is Joe Hill's Nosferatu in hardcover. I read this last year in December because I wanted it to be a Christmas book, because, you know, the whole Christmas land thing. And I liked it, but I didn't end up loving it. And I've got access to most of these on audio, and they're narrated by Kate Mulgrew, which is like Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager. And yes, please. So I think I'm going to be doing Joe Hill on audio. Sadly, I am going to be letting this one go. I did enjoy the reading experience, but I don't think it's one I'll ever revisit. And it was kind of taking up space that I could move my George R.R. Martin books to. So that's where my George R.R. Martin books kind of filled in the slot that some of these books kind of vacated. And it freed up a lot of space and made me happy. So back to the regular unhaul. Up next is Colorbound by Rebecca Zahabi. And this is, what is this called? This is a series that is Tales of the Edge, Volume 1. There we go, Colorbound. And this is a GSFF kind of edition. It's got the digitally sprayed edges. It's signed and numbered. I'm going to be listing this on the Pango as well. You can see right there, signed and numbered. I just don't seem, like, I read the inside flap. And initially, like, I was looking at it, and I was like, you know, maybe this could be something that sounds interesting. And then I read it again, and I read it again. And the more I read this inside flap right here, the more it just didn't sound quite to my taste. So I'm going to go ahead and let this one go. As much as that one hurts because it is beautiful, it is signed, and it is numbered. Speaking of which, so is this one. This is another Goldsboro. And this one is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. It's thick and it takes up a lot of space. Again, signed, numbered with bookmark. And the reason that I'm letting this one go is Fractal Noise, recently released by Christopher Paolini. It was the next entry into something verse. He calls it the... Oh, I don't know what he calls his universe. The Fractal Verse. There we go. I think that's what it's called. And the book was called Fractal Noise. That book never even made me consider to buy it. I never once considered buying Fractal Noise. And, like, I had to talk with myself. I was like, am I keeping this because it's beautiful? Am I keeping it because I think I'll read it one day? Am I keeping it on the shelf because I may love it? And it's just like, okay, but when is that moment where I'm going to reach for it and be excited to read it going to come? And I just didn't see it. And so I'm deciding to let this one go. This was gifted to me by a good friend and patron, Ryan, and I really appreciate this. And I was I wanted to want to read it. And it's never once blipped my radar to where I was like, you know what, now's the time. Now's that month where I'm going to reach for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. It just never happened for me. And so with space getting as tight as it is, I just, for something this big, I mean, this is over 840 pages. I just need the space. So I'm going to go ahead and let this one go as well. Then we've got these three. And I don't know why I got so invested in these three. I know a lot of people have bought these books. I don't know anybody, I think, that has read them, though. And that is Sean Russell. And that right here is these three trilogy, duology. No, these are duology bind-ups. And we've got River into Darkness, which I first saw on Jolene Reed's when she hauled this many, many moons ago. And so I was like, oh, that looks interesting. So I hauled it. And I've never once wanted to read it. It's just been sitting there on the shelf for 2 years almost. And it's just time for me to kind of admit that I'm not going to read these physically. Now, I am planning on doing this one on audio to at least try Sean Russell. And that's the Initiate Brother duology. Again, fantasy, Asian fantasy inspired, like Shaolin monks and stuff like that. And I want to do, I'm going to get the audiobooks for these two. But for right now, again, another big, beefy paperback that I've never reached for. I've had it about as long as this collection, and these covers look like they're something I'm interested in, yet I never reach for them. I never even think about reaching for them. And that's the same with Moontide and Magic Rise, which is a nautical fantasy. And again, I've had this one for over a year, never once even thought about reaching for it. So I'm going to go ahead and let these go. It makes me sad, but I own 6 of the books, never once read them. And then, don't come for me for this one, but we're going to list The Age of Madness by Joe Abercrombie. That's Wisdom of Crowds, Trouble of Peace is signed, and A Little Hatred, all in American U.S. hardcover. And the reason I'm listing these ones is, I've got A Little Hatred on audio. Stephen Pacey is my preferred method of consuming First Law. But also, I started A Little Hatred and then immediately NFN'd it. Just because, ugh. There was a scene very early on in A Little Hatred that just gave me the ugh. And so I was like, I'm not in the mood for that right now. And then I was like, you know what? That's a whole trilogy on my shelf that I don't really need to have there. I've got the first 3 in hardcover. Very happy about that. I've got the second trilogy in paperback. But this seems like a new era, and I wasn't falling in love with these new characters fast enough for my liking to keep the hardcovers on the shelf. These may turn into amazing stories, and I do intend to find out just on audio where it doesn't take up any shelf space. So those are the books that I intend to let go. These will all be listed in the Pango bookstore that I have linked in the description box down below if you want to check them out. And yeah, that's all I've really got for you today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on some of these. Am I making some wild, massive mistakes? I know you're going to mention Abercrombie. I get it. But yeah, that's really all I really got for you. So till next time, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.